Hey everyone, this is Neil Barnhill and Kyle Clapper of BGI. Welcome to episode 11 of Talking Golf with BGI with special guest Tim Markison, founder and CEO of Athalonz. Barnhill Golf Institute would like to recognize all of our incredible business partners, Wilson Golf, Flight Scope, SkyTrak and SkyCaddy, Tour Striker, True Speed Golf, the Force Pedals, the Net Return, the WEC method, and real feel golf mats. Before we start, Tim, I want to let our viewers know about you and Athlon. Tim is founder of Garlic and Markison and has been a licensed patent attorney since 1993 and a licensed patent agent since 1989. He is an accomplished inventor with over 100 issued patents. Tim is founder and CEO of Athalonz. Started selling the Athalonz baseball shoes in 2019. It's got 11 issued patents on the Athlonz golf shoes. I was telling you earlier before we started, Tim, last year I'm a big fan of the World on Drive Tour as Kyle is also.
Oh yeah.
And it just, I look at these guys and they all got the white and brown shoe, and I'm like, what are these guys wearing? And I dug into it, and it's Athlon shoes.
Yeah.
And then these guys are crushing it. So there's got to be a reason they're wearing it. So this year when I was at the PGA Merchandise Show, I saw that Bernhard Langer was there, and he signed a contract with Athalonz. And
Yes.
that's when I was like, all right, I need a pair of shoes. My son needs a pair of shoes. So I bought the Athalonz shoes for me and my son. And I was also telling you, my son's a teenager and looks are important. So the looks work. We got the black pair. Nice. And I'm looking at the performance part of it. And I love them. Had them for 2.5 months, and they just feel great. I use them when I teach. He loves them. He loves to feel them. He loves the look of it as a teenager. And I just wanted to ask you, why did Bernhard Langer go with Athalonz, and what is the science and physics behind the Athalonz golf shoe?
Okay, so let me start with the science and physics behind the shoe. So the idea originated about almost 10 years ago now. For baseball, I was working with some major league coaches, pitching coaches and hitting coaches, and they had spent collectively, probably over a dozen years studying what makes Hall of Fame baseball players, Hall of Fame caliber baseball players. And they noticed that they all had just incredibly balanced lower halves and incredible power generated from the ground up. And what they also noticed is if you drew a line from the ankle to the groin, the knee would be on the inside of that line. So the weight would be on the inside of the legs, on the inside of the foot. But they also noticed that most Major League Baseball players, so we're talking elite type athletes as it is, but they didn't have that stance. So they created this drill where they would use a rosin bag on the outside of the back leg, underneath, on the outside of the foot and underneath the heel to kind of, I'll get my hand up there to kind of force the foot inward like this to kind of shift the energy more towards the body. So the players could feel that, but as soon as the rosin bag went away, then they went back to their old way. So we started working together, like I said, almost 10 years ago, and designed the shoe based on that concept. And then I really wanted to understand, well, why does that matter? Why does that make a difference? With an engineering background, I started to look at the physics of it. And it really boils down to, Newton's fundamental laws of physics. We push on the ground pushes back. That allows us to move. Well, that's a force. All that force goes through the shoe. Since a force is a vector, so we're getting a little mathy here on everybody, but since it's a vector, we can manipulate it. So what we did with the shoe is instead of the ground reaction force being perpendicular like this, we put a little bit of gradient slope in the forefoot. So now the energy is going this way with the body. And when we started looking at competitor shoes, most of them are U-shaped like this. So instead of the force actually being perpendicular to the ground with competitor shoes, they're actually pointing away. So now you're fighting your shoe as well as your athletic movement with most competitor shoes. So that's why when we've seen up to 35% improvement in ground reaction force for some amateur players. We've even seen pro players get into the 18, 19% improvement in ground reaction force. But basically, it's taking force vectors instead of pointing away from your body with conventional shoes, we point it towards your body. and that's what the shoes do for you. And the heel is flat. So when you walk, your heel strikes normally, and then the shoe rolls you just gently in. So you get this dynamic movement, which mimics the natural movement of the foot when you're walking. So for a lot of people, it aids in the comfort of movement. And you had mentioned how comfortable they are. That's part of it. So to answer the question about Bernard, is he had been with a competitor for over 40 years. And he was having issues with their shoes. He would go through 3 or 4 pairs of shoes in a tournament. And so most shoe companies today, they're working on comfort out of the box. So the way to get comfort out of the box with most shoes is you go with very soft materials. Well, the issue with soft materials is that they compress out easily. So what was happening to Bernard is as he was playing, the shoes were compressing out and out and out. So the shoes are pushing his energy away from his body. So during his golf swing, he was fighting his body because of the shoes. So, like I said, he would go through 3 or 4 pair in a tournament. So we had been introduced to Bernard through actually our connections in Long Drive. And he tested the shoes out for about 2 months. He wore them on the driving range, wore them playing, walked around his neighborhood because he goes, I'm on my feet 8 to 11 hours a day. These things need to be comfortable. And he was looking at a couple other shoes to sign with besides ours. And at the end of the day, he just goes, every time I went to the driving range, I hit the ball better. It was more consistent, better control, and less aches and pains in my body when I was on my feet for 8 or 10 hours a day. So there's a very long answer to a very short question.
Well, that's a very interesting answer.
Well, I can't get away from the fact that he went through that many shoes in a tournament. Oh my God.
It's crazy, isn't it? But that's what happens when the midsole is made of such soft material.
Yep.
When you're putting that kind of force into the ground consistently to do the golf swing, you compress that material out very fast. And if the shoe's rolling you out when you're loading on your back leg, the shoes are going to compress even faster.
So from a technical standpoint there, Tim, I know like one thing that probably Bernhard really liked was it kept him stable with his feet so he didn't have that sway with his right foot. I know that's one thing he worked on. So I know I can feel it with that shoe. It keeps your feet stable and you don't feel that right foot for a right-hander. You don't feel like you're swaying.
Right. Yeah. And that's because of that. I'll do this a lot. I do this all the time. Just shifting in about 4 or 5 degrees, that changes how the shoe interacts with the body. So if I'm just vertical and I push a little bit this way, it's pretty easy to knock it over. But I angle that just in a little bit and now push on it. There's energy fighting me now. And that's kind of what the shoes allow you to do. It gives you just something to push against when you're in that position. And it shifts the weight to the inside of your foot, pushes your knees in a little bit. So you just create that Hall of Fame caliber lower half.
So Tim, how many hours will these shoes last? I mean, if you get them like I wear them, if I play 2 or 3 times a week, are they meant to last for a while?
Yeah. We don't have a full study on that yet, but they're designed to last. They should last at least 6 months, if not to a year, depending on how much you wear it, and then depending on how much you wear it off the course. If you wear it just on the course, they should last a good year. I wear mine all over the place. So on concrete, I actually run in my shoes. So they get worn out, within about 3 months on asphalt. But I also have a pair that I just golf in, and those are 4 months old. Of course, I only go out a couple times a week, but.
So that's the thing. You can wear these everywhere. I mean, it's like my Adidas Boost. They're so comfortable. You just want to keep them on. So there's like, you get off through playing golf, you can go to the grocery store, go out to dinner, keep these shoes on. They work.
And I think that's one of the more convenient points of them is the fact that you're not switching out shoes all the time like that. They're comfortable. You look forward to putting them on your feet. I know when I tried them on, I mean, they were awesome. I mean, it's just, they're comfortable. And I think that's the biggest thing. When you feel good, putting them on, you feel more comfortable over the ball.
Yeah. That's what they were designed for. To me, that's the beauty of physics. It's there when it comes to physics, the laws and facts, There are no known exceptions. So everybody that puts the pair of shoes on is going to get the same shifting and ground reaction force. Now, what the individual does with that, that's up to the athlete.
Wait a second. Tim, are you promising that I'm not going to become a scratch golfer putting on these shoes?
That is, well, unless you're close to a scratch golfer now. We actually had somebody call, this is probably a year ago. He was a 26 handicapper, and he demanded his money back because he didn't shoot par his first time out in the shoes.
All right.
Oh my God.
26, not a 6 handicapper, but
26. 26. And said, hey, I didn't shoot par. I want my money back.
Oh my gosh. Come on, Tim. You got to work on that.
I would love to have that conversation, or have the recording of that customer service rep with that guy. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. We use, we're scientists here. We're not miracle workers.
Well, Tim, I found it astounding. You got 18 of the top 20 long drive tour players wearing your shoes. That's incredible. Yeah. I want to hear how Athalonz got started on the long drive tour. I know there's a story with this.
Yeah. So, like I said, we started in baseball. So we were participating in a charity golf event, and on one of the holes, you could spend $25 and have a long distance driver hit your tee shot. So we spent the $25. And it was Mitch McDowell. He's a local pro here in Mesa, Arizona. And so we're standing at the tee box, and we go, hey, since we're paying you to hit our shot, would you mind wearing our baseball turf shoes when you hit? I don't mind. We took one swing in him, and he's like, holy cow. That wasn't the word he used. It was explicitive. But he said, my back leg was so locked in, I could feel I could get better into the swing after one swing. He goes, you guys got to make a golf shoe. And it was already on the drawing board. But after that, we expedited the process. So he took the first pair of prototypes that we had to a long drive event. And he got knocked out in the round of 32. But Ryan Steenberg was continuing to compete. So Ryan goes, hey, let me try them. And Ryan's been long drive for about 8 years. He was number 6 in the world at the time, but had never won an event.
What year was that, Tim?
That was 2018.
Okay, so recently, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he put the shoes on and won. First time in the shoes, won. He goes out the next tournament, he's in the shoes and wins. So he back-to-back wins, having never have won a long drive event in 8 years, back-to-back in our shoes.
He didn't get the shoes back to the guy, right?
Oh, no, he kept them. And then people are like, Ryan, what did you do differently? He goes, literally all I did was change my shoes. And of course, the immediate response, well, that's BS. And he goes, I swear to you. So then the next guy tried him, and then the next guy. And then, before long, it was nobody could afford to allow the other guy to have a competitive advantage. So they all just adapted to our shoe. And I think the only reason we don't have 20 out of 20 is the other players already had existing shoe contracts. So they were stuck.
That is a great story.
Nice.
Jeremiah was telling me about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I figured you probably sent out all the shoes to everybody to wear, and that's how it happened, but that's not the case.
No, they all came to us, which was great. So and
I think it comes to the point that the long drive guys have to be successful. They can't, put themselves at a disadvantage by wearing, an inadequate, piece of footwear. They have to put themselves in the best possible position to be successful, because the type of money on the long drive tour isn't what it is on the PGA tour.
Absolutely.
They're going to use the best equipment, the best clubs, and they're certainly going to have the best footwear. And you see that with so many of them wearing your shoes.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Getting to know the long drive players. First of all, excellent group of people overall, just fun to be around, very competitive, very athletic. But if you don't make the TV appearances, they don't even make enough money to cover their expenses to go to these events. So you're spot on with, they need to perform. And no golfer uses the ground more than long drivers. I mean, they give everything that they've got into it. And the thing that was good for us too is our shoe is spikeless. We're, so they were concerned about the traction, but we created the special outsole pattern to what we call grip and glide. So it grips when you want it to, and it allows your foot to rotate on the front side when you're finishing your swing, or it grips on the front side and allows you to finish on the back side. So they were, so even in wet conditions with a spikeless shoe, they were still getting the traction that they needed.
Yeah, I noticed that, Tim. I played with my son down at PJ Golf Club down at Port St. Lucie, and it started raining, and I had no problems with the traction at all with the shoes. I mean, I thought it would be something. I was really surprised at how great it performed.
Yeah. It really, again, it boils down to physics. So we're trying to create as much friction in the area that you don't want to rotate, and then less friction in the direction you do want to rotate. And it's physics.
It is physics. So I know there's several. Fred Funk's on the Champions Tour. You got some guys. Now I know, like on the PGA tours, a lot of those guys still wear the spikes. So what are you guys doing at Athalonz to address that? Are y'all coming out with another shoe that's going to have a spike version?
Yeah. So we are working on a spiked version. It's really a hybrid between a spike and a spikeless. So you have the comfort of a spikeless shoe, but the enhanced traction of spikes. So that's in development phases now. We're hoping to have that out Q1 of next year.
Okay. So maybe by the PGA merchandise show, y'all might unleash it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the plan. If we have one this year or next year.
Okay. And it'll still have all the performances of the original shoe.
Yeah.
Okay.
All those features.
So Tim, where do you see your company in 2 years and then 5 years?
So my ultimate goal with Athalonz is that we become a household name. And, one of the charity events or charity organizations that we work with is Joe Torre's Safe at Home organization. They work with help to prevent child abuse. And I have that history in my past being from an abusive family. So it hits near and dear to my heart. So what I hope is Athalonz becomes a household name. And every time you hear the word Athalonz, you can't help but think prevent child abuse. And then with social conscious being on everybody's mind, prevent child abuse, we might actually do some positive in reducing the number of children that are abused every year. So that's my ultimate goal with what we're doing with Athalonz.
Wow. I've got goosebumps listening to that.
It's nice to hear that from a corporation than some of the other things that we hear.
Yeah, that's really special. I think the shoe with the long drive guys and with Bernhard and you coming out with that spike version, this shoe's going to take off because it's unique. I mean, I played with FootJoy. I played with all the other shoes. It is. If people out there listening, if you haven't tried it, this is a totally different shoe. It is everything he's saying with the physics. The comfort is out of this world. So you got performance and you got comfort. What else do you want? Usually you take your golf shoes and you can't wait to put your Adidas boost on.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you for that. We're really proud of what we've accomplished, and and like you said, it really is the physics. And I think from the research I've done, and having my background being in engineering and patent law, from what I can tell, we're the only company right now that's actually looking at the physics through the shoe and how do we manipulate those forces to the advantage of the athlete.
Yeah, exactly. So I know one of the things that stood out to me, like I'm gonna read it right here. I wrote it down. So it's like, I think it was in the shoe box when I opened it up.
Yeah.
It says Athlonz golf shoes are uniquely designed to include the right angles in the right place to shift forces toward your body to increase your power by at least 9%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
Yeah,
I mean that's huge.
Yeah. And that's the math is based on somebody my size. I'm 6 foot tall.
Okay.
So when I just do the math and I move the angles from perpendicular inward about 4 degrees, the math works out. So it's easy to, and the beauty of math is it doesn't lie. And what we've done when we've tested people with ground reaction forces, they're almost all in the teens, if not 20, up to 30+%, because our competitor shoes are U-shaped. And I actually have a competitor shoe here. So you can see in the forefoot, it's U-shaped. So if your inside of your foot is here, it's pushing you this way. So, our shoe, we're tapered down towards the the inside of your foot. So when you're pushing this way, the shoe's pushing back that way. So when you shift angles from here to here, all that energy now is going back into your body instead of loss. It's called energy leakage if it's going away from your body. So we minimize that and improve the athletic force going into your body. And the math is there. So it's going to be, for somebody my size, it's 9% minimum.
That's huge. With the way teaching is going, as I teach for a living, Tim.
Yeah.
I mean, like George Gankus and Mark Chuck, I mean, we're all about big pivots back, using the ground for power.
Yeah.
And I mean, these shoes are lined up to do really well because, I mean, that is what we're teaching out there. It's not the X factor anymore back, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, where you didn't use your legs as much. It's totally different. It's
and we saw a lot of injuries too. I mean, I know,
yes.
Neil, you've looked into that a lot, especially with your CrossFit. The injuries with the X factor, the back problems. I mean, like a Jason Day is a perfect example of how not making a turn can really hurt yourself. I mean, he has back problems all the time. He does. I mean, he crushes it. I mean, beautiful swing, beautiful everything, but he doesn't turn, and he has those lower back problems. I myself didn't make a good turn. I'm still working on a better turn.
It's going to help you a lot, Kyle, because he still he wears some, I don't know what shoes he wears. They look worn out. Actually got some new ones. But anyways, when he gets a pair of these, it's going to help him not roll on that right foot, and that's going to make a huge difference for you, Kyle.
Yeah.
So,
it just makes you more of an athlete.
Yeah.
And I think finally people see it, golf, as you got to be an athlete to play this game. You got to have, the same thing with basketball shoes, the same thing with baseball shoes, the same thing with all that. You got to have the right thing at the foundation. I mean, your feet is the only thing that touches the ground. That's the only place you touch the ground on the golf swing.
Yep.
Is that direct connection with the feet. And I think it's revolutionary. It's not a miracle worker. You're not going to go out and take 27 to scratch, but it's revolutionary in your in Athlon's thinking.
Tim, do you think once this takes hold on the tour, I think the guys are going to jump on this. I mean, eventually, I don't know when, but they will. Do you think that's going to help with all the knee problems and back problems with your shoe with these guys out there?
Unless there's a pre-existing condition, it should help with most players.
Okay.
Majority of people are slightly bow-legged.
Yeah.
So shifting that energy just a little bit inward reduces stress for a lot of people on the ankles, knees, lower back. That was one of the things Bernard really commented on, was just how comfortable he felt after being on his feet for 8 or 10 hours during the day.
So what's his feedback now that he's worn them? I know we had a COVID period, but what's now that he's had it several months, what's his feedback been on the shoe?
Well, he hasn't finished lower than 9th this year.
Oh, he's
like, I love these things.
And Fred, who else do y'all have out there?
So Fred Funk's wearing them. Ken Duke is wearing them. So
Ken Duke, okay.
Yeah. So Ken's first 2 outings in the shoes, 2 top 10 finishes, and then COVID hit. We've got several other players that are looking at him now. Bernard was I got a call over the weekend from another Champion Tour player. He says, I was on the range with Bernard, and I was telling him about, I'm just struggling with my back foot rolling out. And Bernard just points to the shoes. He said, get these. So I sent him a pair of shoes. So he should be getting those tomorrow.
You got to think these guys, I mean, they're walking. I mean, they're not like me where we're riding our little carts and stuff like that, but they're walking. You got to think, man, that's almost most important than your clubs.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't imagine walking, I've walked 18 at Bella Colina. I've walked 18 before. And man, if your dogs are barking, you're done.
It has everything to do with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I run half marathons in these shoes. So I'm a little bow-legged. I'm a little bit more than a little bow-legged. But I move smoother. I still really slow, but I move smoother. Yeah, and I am biased, but my body doesn't lie to me. So my knees don't hurt when I run in the shoes. My back's fine. So I'm a big believer in better athletic position. And if I can get nerdy, a little bit more nerdy on you guys than I already have been, we were talking about, all the stuff with the different rotations and all that, and kind of taking the legs out of it. So, I really started looking into all that stuff. And, most sports scientists, they analyze the body from a kinematic effect. So it's the study of motion, regardless of how the body got put into motion. From an engineering standpoint, we're trained to look at the overall system. So I want to know how the body is put into motion. I want to know how the body stops its motion, because it's a whole system. You can't just look at the body absent its interaction with the ground. And when sports scientists do that, they're jeopardizing the health of athletes. And I've seen that in various other programs where if they go, if you just do this with your body, but how does that work with the ground? Because all athletic movement starts and stops with the body interacting with the ground. So yeah, it has to be a factor in everything we look at when it comes to sports, not just golf, but all sports.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's been a lot of studies on the ground. I mean, with the WEC method, I used the RMT club. There's a lot of, he's got the WEC, I forget what it's called for the feet. So, I mean, the feet are everything. Yeah. I mean, it really is. That's where all the pains for the knees, the lower back, the psoas. I mean, it starts with the feet.
Yeah, it literally does. Yeah,
it does.
Can't avoid it. Yeah.
Well, I think you bring up a good point about the lower back part of it. I mean, low back injuries, I've had them. They are just they're terrible. They just rip you apart. And I think people don't realize that a lot of it plays a huge part in your footwear and how you approach the game. And I think that's back injury. I don't even want to think about it. It's almost like saying the S word.
I was just thinking too. I was pondering a thought last night because I teach. These shoes also are a great tool for like one of the biggest problems I see teaching people, especially adults, is swaying.
Mm-hmm.
That on the left hand or right hand. And so, I mean, I see these shoes also as a tool, as a teaching aid, for really stopping that. Because it's hard you can sway, obviously, but boy, it really makes it tough with these shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had one teaching pro say these shoes cost me 20 lessons because I spend the first 20 lessons just trying to keep their feet stable.
Hey, it's true.
Yeah. But but now you get to work on the fun part of the game of strategy and how do you do this shot and that shot? How do you shape these? To me, that's what makes instruction more important. The basic mechanics, you kind of got to get over that hurdle. But instruction to me as taking instruction, I find it much more enjoyable. Okay, how do we hit this shot? How do I shape that? What's the strategy?
Not stop swaying. We're into the 30th lesson and you're still swaying, buddy.
Yeah, I'm working on fundamentals still. Let's play golf.
There's a ton of people that sway. I mean, we've been paired up with twosomes all the time. And that's because I love what Neil does when we go out and play. Because obviously I'm trying to learn from Neil how to improve my game, but also help coach. And he's like, Kyle, what's the first thing? And what's wrong with that guy's swing we're just watching? And it's like, now I don't even have to look at the guys. Like, he's swaying probably. It's just guaranteed he's swaying.
Yeah. And I mean, I look at players' feet all the time now. And, so many of the shoes now are made with the real light uppers, the sides. So the shoes actually give you no horizontal reaction force. So you've got the bottom of the shoe here. So that interacts with the ground. So you got your tread pattern, but then your foot sits on this part. So if you're pushing this way, that's creating a force that way and a force that way. If there's nothing on your shoe to fight the force this way, your foot rolls out. And then your pivot point in your shoe moves this way. And that's why you tend to roll out, because there's nothing fighting in the shoe, this horizontal component of your leg pushing into the ground that way. That make sense?
I understand. Absolutely. And we had Brendan on last week. He's been studying the Bryson DeChambeau transition, his swing, the transformation. Yeah. It's all the guys can you explain, like, you wear these shoes, if you do the left, right, stomp, these shoes are going to give you that stability, the force to make that turn back with stability, right?
Yeah. Kyle Berkshire was doing that end of last year with loading up this way and then driving into it. And he it was the 2019 PGA show. He was doing a competition against Will Hogue for exit velocity. And Will was in our shoes and was about 2.5, 3 miles ahead of Kyle. And he goes, all right, somebody go get me a pair of those shoes. And he put them on, and then he jumped about a mile ahead of Will. And he hasn't taken them off since.
So that's how it happened with Kyle. Okay.
Yeah.
And, oh God,
he's got them on every post. Everything.
But good Lord, he has to have a solid foundation.
Oh, absolutely.
Jesus, I see some of his on YouTube, his course vlogs. Oh my God, it's insane.
He's got a great swing. I mean, but the interesting thing is, there's a trend going to Brendan kind of enlightened us last week when we had the podcast, how much faster the backswings are these guys on the World Long Drop Tour and on the tour compared to average golfers.
Yeah.
So this shoe is going to give you that opportunity to really go back, not out of control, in control, but be stable and be organized to where you can deliver a punch.
Right. Allow you to take your moment, your rotation as far as your body will allow it, but keeping your lower half in that ideal position. Because it's easy to rotate your upper half, but then your lower half will follow, and then everything gets catawampus. So but to be able to rotate the upper half and keep the lower half stable, that's where the energy really comes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does. And I at the show this year with Mike Adams, he's number one instructor in the world. I've got the most respect, but the force pedals, he came out with the force pedals. I was like, all right, these little, you know what I'm talking about, Tim?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. All right. Well, let me, anyways, he came out with these things. They're about, if you look at them here, about this big.
Yeah.
And they go on the ground, and you can put one on your right heel and then one on your front foot. So when you go back, you can do everything these shoes are saying. So you want to feel that push down in the right heel, the right leg extend for the extension on the way back. But when you start down, you want to push down in the ground with that left lead foot, and then it shoots you back with the vertical force.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what these shoes, because I've been working, I had that before this. These shoes promote all of that.
And these you can take out on the golf course with you. So that's one of the differences between a training aid is once you're out there, it's like, well, it's in your bag or back at the clubhouse.
Well, I was thinking about duct taping on some of my students' shoes. I was like, now they can just wear these.
Yeah. Excellent.
So, all right, that's great. So these are for junior, because I have a lot of junior golfers.
Yep.
Do you make them for junior sizes too?
We go down to men's size 5.
Okay, men's size 5. So you can, 12, 13-year-old, they can probably wear them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, some 12 and 13-year-olds have size 14 feet now. So.
That's true. That's 100% legit.
I think maybe 9 or 10 years old, you're probably right.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. So that's remarkable. So I know Kyle's got some shoes on order. He's going to be wearing them here soon, and I can't wait to see the results he's going to have with them.
Excellent.
So,
We'd love the feedback, and anything we can do to help, just let us know.
Yeah, and I got a friend, a guy I used to teach. He just qualified for the professional long drive tour. He's got to get some of these. He's not using your shoes yet. I'm gonna get Brandon Flynn. We're gonna have to get him some of these.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Yep. Yeah, he'll notice the difference, especially at that level.
Yeah, he just got over 150 miles an hour, so he's
Jeez,
I just posted
insane.
Posted on my Instagram. I was telling Kyle just the way they use the ground. It's absolutely remarkable. And that's why I was excited to talk to you today, because shoes that promote everything that I teach. And it's amazing, because there's nothing else out there like this. So
thank you. Yeah. When you start to really dive into the science behind it, the physics behind it, it just makes total sense. I guess we were fortunate to be kind of the first to look at it from a physics viewpoint, not just a kinematic effect.
It's crazy to think, though, with everything, with all the physics that's in golf, that this hasn't been brought up before. This hasn't been looked at before.
You're right.
It's 2020, and you guys are, the ones pioneering the way through this. And I mean, there's so much technology. I mean, people will drop thousands and thousands of dollars on a set of golf clubs, and then you just go into a golf store and you'll see them sitting on the shelf because they turned them in because it doesn't work. But the thing that, like I said, makes the only connection with the ground your feet, and people will have crap on their feet.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So on that point, I get like you mentioned in the opening about me. I've been a patent attorney for over 30 years now, and it used to surprise me. It's like, really, this hasn't been thought of before, but I've seen that so many times over the last 3 decades. It's I'm not overly surprised. It's like that hindsight is 2020. It's like once you see the solution, then it's like, oh well, of course. And that's what actually, from a patent standpoint, makes the best patents. It's like once you identify the problem that needs to be solved and you come up with the simple solution to solve it, it's like, that makes the great patents, because everybody wants to solve the problem that way.
So you have 11 different unique patents with this shoe. Is that correct?
Yeah, and 6 more pending.
Yeah. Holy cow!
Well, I mean, that's got to be a long process to get all that. I mean, you would know. I mean, you're a patent attorney, for heaven's sake, but that's got to be a long and quite frankly, an expensive investment for the shoe. I mean, that's
yeah. Well, I've done all the work myself. So fortunately, because Athalonz couldn't afford me, we had to pay all the legal work.
So it works out.
Yeah. But I filed the first application in 2011. It took a few years to get the first one issued. But it's just part of the process. But for any so now I'm putting my patent attorney hat on. But for any entrepreneur, that's their distinguishment in the marketplace is their technology. They need to do a decent job of protecting it with patents. Otherwise, they don't have it. They're limiting the value of their company. So, and having done that, that was one of the first things that I implemented was, okay, we're going to patent every conceivable way of doing this. And I think we've been pretty successful with that.
That's really smart. It was this copycat out there.
Yeah. Well, once, as, like you'd mentioned, people understand energy comes from the ground up, but few people think about all that energy going through the shoes and how can you manipulate it. So as, we get better known and people start looking at that, then our technologies become more and more valuable. It's not just limited to golf either. It's pretty much any sport where you have a lateral and or rotational movement. Like I said, we started with baseball.
So that was the 2011. You started patenting that.
Yeah.
Because you still got your law firm take it, and then 2016 is when it went to market. So it took 5 years for all that to take place.
So the first couple of years are really, the original business plan. We're just going to develop the technology and license it. So we actually talked in 2014 to a shoe company, and they said, okay, well, we're interested. We want a 2-year exclusive deal where we get to evaluate it for 2 years, and then at the end of 2 years, if we like it, we might give you some money. So it wasn't a very good deal for us. So we decided to make our own shoe, and so I worked with a company in China to make the first baseball shoe that we had. And the first prototype they sent me, they took out all of our technology. And so I call him up and said, well, what happened here? You don't have any of the slopes I put into the shoe. And he goes, oh, well, we didn't think you meant that because we've never seen that before. So we lost 6 months.
Oh my God, that couldn't have been. That's so
you weren't laughing then.
No, that was uncomfortable. So that delayed us about 6 months. It's like, no, that's what actually is distinguishing us. That's what gives the shoe the advantage. So, and then it took another round to get it just right, because so we want to really mimic the natural movement of the foot, because the last thing we want to do is, okay, this helps your athletic performance, but it creates harm to the body. So we want to make sure that we had all that working right too. And we worked with an orthopedic surgeon, Preston Wolin, out of Chicago. So he's been with us since the beginning, looking at it from that standpoint. So I think we had all the bases covered when we were developing the shoe, from performance, engineering, and then the health side of things.
So 2016, you got the baseball shoes going.
Yeah.
But then a lot of the technology and the patents from baseball, is there 11 unique patents with the golf shoe versus the baseball, or are these just?
Well, there's a lot of commonality in the patents for both.
Okay.
So, like the tread pattern that we have on the golf shoe, that's separate. That one's still pending. That hasn't issued yet.
Okay.
The flex zone we have in the shoe, that's still pending. But as far as like the midsole goes, where you have the gradient slope, that's the same whether it's baseball or golf. And then there's multiple ways that could be implemented. So we have different patents on the different ways. On some of our baseball shoes, the cleats on the lateral side of the shoe, the outside of the shoe, are a little bit longer than the inside, so they help add to the shift. So, and then we have some patents just on the insole to kind of help promote that positioning as well. So pretty much any way we could think of on how to implement it, we patented around it.
That's very smart. On your shirt there, I love your logo. And can you tell us what that logo means?
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see it fairly well.
Sure can.
Right? Okay, good.
Yep.
So that's 3 interwoven circles. It's a spin on an ancient Celtic symbol of 3 interwoven ellipses to represent connectivity of mind, body, and spirit. So, we look at the athlete as a full human being. So, just there's a mental part to the game, there's a spiritual part to the game, and there's a physical part to the game. And, we just feel if you play better, life's better. And it just creates more positive energy. So that's kind of what we're trying to address, is the whole human being and not just a part of it.
Well, I love the positive energy, man. I love being around positive people. I just refuse as I get older to let myself hang around people who are dragging me down, man. I'm just not going to do it.
Well, good for you. Yeah.
It's awesome to have somebody that stands behind their company like this. It's a true delight to have you on this show, man. And
it's been my pleasure.
I tell you what, I think your company's going to take off. It already has. And it's just be a matter of time for the tour guys start wearing them. And I think your everyday guy playing is going to get a lot of benefit out of them just because it helps you with your swing.
Yep.
Like we talked about. So again, hey, Kyle and I are so thankful that you could join us today. Tim, really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. And we want to have you on here again next year if you'll.
Yeah, just let me know. It's been a pleasure.
We want to do it 1 year from now. We'll figure it out. We'll talk to Jeremiah and we'll see where we're at. And I'm sure we'll be looking back and saying, yep, that would happen. And it will.
Excellent.
So, all right. Barnhill Golf Institute would like to thank all our business partners, Wilson Golf, Flight Scope, SkyTrak and Sky Caddy, Tour Striker, True Speed Golf, the Force Pedals, the Net Return, the WEC Method, and Real Feel Golf Mats. Until next week, we're going to have another great podcast on store for you. We're not going to let you know what it is, but stay tuned, and I hope everybody stays safe out there and have a great week.
Thanks again, Tim.